Hello everyone, I'm George from Ireland. So here I am outside Noel Coward's house in Belgravia, London. This is not where he was born. He was born in Teddington, and I filmed outside that house. That's southwest London. So we are quite close to the centre, an area which has been considered one of the most exclusive from the early 19th century. So named after the Earl of Belgrave, who built it, who owned many of the houses around here. Anyway, Noel Coward was born at the turn of the 20th century to a middle-class family, and they weren't very theatrical, but he took to the stage really as soon as he could. He left school in his early teens, which was common for the time. He was close to his domineering mother. Anyway, you can read about his memoirs that he penned about not envying other boys in their Eton suits, being very happy to be a child of the theatre. Quite early on, he realised that he was a homosexual, but he never announced that to the public. He quipped later in the 60s, there might be a few little old ladies who still didn't realise, because for anybody else with even half a brain, you could tell he was gay from a mile off. He was just too young for the First World War, so lucky to miss out on that, which so many were killed. He does a bit to keep morale up. And by the 1920s, he was one of the most widely recognised actors at the West End. That's a theatrical area of London, in all sorts of roles, in comedies, in Shakespeare plays, serious. He's very serious ones. He's very versatile. He was superb at singing as well, and indeed he wrote numerous songs. He's best known as a librettist for Mad Dogs and Englishmen Go Out in the Noonday Sun. That one he wrote in the 1950s. And so then he was in demand from Hollywood. He was in a number of films in the 1930s. By that time, talkies had come out, as in films with sound. They were all silent films until 1926 and The Jazz Singer. Then the Second World War broke out and was very keen to do his bit for the country. He didn't really seem to care about politics, but in this issue he did think the United Kingdom was on the right side. So he was sent to the United States, partly to fly the flag for the UK, to foster cordial relations with the United States. There was an espionage element to it as well. The one thing because of course the United States was neutral till December 1941, and some people in the British press took aim at him, said, oh, Noel Coward really is a coward. He's aptly named for going to the United States when the Blitz is on and not being here to share our sufferings and keep morale up. Although remember, the theatres were closed by the Lord Chamberlain's order of the first sort of month of the war, just in case a bomb hit a theatre and blew everybody up, and cinemas. They realised they couldn't do that forever, so they reopened them pretty soon. They decided to take the risk. Anyway, but he was miffed the way he was being introduced in the press, and that he wasn't allowed to say that he was there by the government's order. So he came back and he starred. Why can't I pronounce things properly these days? He starred in a film entitled In Which We Serve, about the Royal Navy. So he had to play a Royal Naval officer, and indeed a straight Royal Naval officer who's married to a female of the species. But some people felt that his silk dressing gown and a cigarette holder image wouldn't play well, that he just wasn't convincing as a Royal Naval officer. Anyway, it went down a storm, that film. It was fairly popular. So he started a number of films after the Second World War. By the 1960s, he was quite frail. He had a South African boyfriend about 20 years younger than himself, and he lived with him here. Then his last role was in The Italian Job, when he plays some crime lord from an upper class background who's in prison but sort of running the prison, and the prison warders are even bringing him his slippers for him to put his feet into and things like that. So he died about 1970. As you can see, he lived here 1930 to 56. He loved going to Jamaica, and he had a house there called Golden Eye. He knew Ian Fleming, who spent a lot of time over there, and Ian Fleming lived in the next street parallel, Ebury Street. So they were like a quarter of a mile away, and that's why there's that James Bond film Golden Eye, because of the house he had at Jamaica where Ian Fleming spent so much time. So that is enough about Noel Coward, who always insisted on the diaresis over the E, so it's not Noel, it's Noel. Two separate syllables. That's enough about Noel Coward. Please subscribe, watch my poetry channel as well. Toodle pip.